This is probably the 35th, something like that, State of the FES Center. I didn't do them all. Hunter did most of them. Today we have kind of three goals. We're going to summarize first who we are and what we do a little bit for newcomers that want to hear it for the first time, and for mind you. We're going to describe our accomplishments over the past year, and we're going to describe what the next steps and the future are for the FES Center. So why don't we get started? Okay. All right, so the FES Center is the formal name is the Center for Functional Electrical Stimulation, and our vision is to transform rehabilitation through fundamental discovery and the development of novel techniques for rehabilitation and neurological disorders. So that's our broad mission, and that incorporates a lot of territory. Our mission is how we accomplish this, and we develop interventions primarily based on neural stimulation of sort of a couple of flavors. We do it in electrical stimulation, obviously, but we also do optical stimulation, and we use some therapeutics as well. And we do that to replace lost function lost to injury and disease. This is a few years old now, but it gives you an idea of who we are. This was the people, many of you are here today, that are in the FES Center. We have a big group of people. These are the investigators. And so they come from many different walks of life and different disciplines, and they really bring a lot of richness to our center. But, the focus of our center is not just on our investigators. We do a lot of first-in-human kind of implementation of new treatments for people with neurological disorders and injuries. So, first of all, that's a big drive for the FES Center in general. But secondly, we can't do this without our participants, and we have many of them who sacrifice their time and sometimes pain to participate in our studies, and we greatly appreciate that. So the FES Center has kind of I just go through in what our approach is from a few different levels. So our core funding comes from the National Department of Veterans Affairs, the Rehabilitation, Research, Development, and Translation portfolio. And we're structured as a regional research consortium. So we have Case Western Reserve University as a partner, Metro Health, University Hospitals, the Cleveland Clinic, and as of about a year ago, the VA Medical Center in Syracuse, New York. So these are our partners in the FES Center, and you folks that are here live and online come from all of those institutions. That makes up the FES Center. We are this group, and we bring our specific skills, unique skills from each of the institutions into our whole. The center itself works by nurturing a multidisciplinary research community. We've done that from the very beginning of the FES Center, and we continue to do that now. We have people, scientists, engineers, clinicians, physicians from many different specialties. And we work very hard to provide added value. We provide services, resources, and a community that goes beyond what our individual institutions and departments provide. We don't duplicate activities. This has been the leadership makeup for the last several years. You probably recognize some of the people there. I'm not going to go through all the names, but this is our executive committee. And I'm the director. Ron Riekers from the VA is our medical director. Asaf Sheikh is here. He's the associate medical director. Cheryl Dugard's back there. She's our director of operations. And Chris Polium, I saw here, he's right here. He's the director of strategic and industrial collaborations. And we have a fantastic crack operational staff. So we do a lot with a few people. We manage 77 investigators, many different activities with these 5 people. And I think, first of all, we'll give them a hand. We do, I'll get to the services later, but we provide a lot of services to the investigators. And when I say we, I mean they, okay, primarily. Okay, what do we do? Well, I told you already we do neurostimulation. We do recording as well. And as most of you know, just about every function in your body is influenced or controlled by the nervous system. So that means we can do things like use functional electrical stimulation, small electrical currents that replace natural activation or modulate neural circuits. We can do vaguely similar things with optical stimulation. It has some unique advantages. The reverse recruitment order that happens with electrical stimulation does not happen with optical stimulation. It activates the small fibers first. It can do activation, it can do deactivation, modulate neural circuits, and maybe do other things as well, promote regeneration and things like that. So as a center, people do activation of the nervous system. They do inactivation. We do motor. We do sensory. And we also modulate neural circuits, like for deep brain stimulation. I like to say that FES and optical stimulation can speak the language of the nervous system. We've learned to do that over way longer than my career, but I think we do it at least as well as anybody else and maybe better. So applications. We do applications all across the body. Like I said, just about every organ in the body, every function has some neural connection, either direct or indirect. So these are all targets for our center. And people ask, well, how can you do all those different things? It's because we have a core fundamental knowledge of how to stimulate the nervous system safely and effectively. And we work with physicians and other clinicians to customize that for specific applications. So we have a basic toolkit and we know how to use it. This was part of our proposal submission for the last round of our center. And we have 4 scientific thrusts, which are shown here. Brain health, which is many different things. It includes stroke and epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, many other brain disorders. Pain mitigation has emerged as a major focus of the center, both spinal cord stimulation, neuromuscular stimulation, etc. Movement restoration was the heart and soul of the FES Center, remains that way. This is how it got its start. This is stimulating muscle, nerves going into muscles to restore motor functions of many different kinds. And finally, autonomic restoration. So the autonomic nervous system controls everything that you don't think about in your body, digestion, inflammation, things like that. And we have a sort of a nascent growing activity in that area. We've also focused on translation and clinical dissemination, moving the discoveries in these thrusts out into the world. And we have a fantastic bioethics core, and the 2 leaders are sitting together right there. Mark Alizio and Paul Ford. Mark's the chair of the bioethics department here at Case, and Paul's the neural ethics leader at the Cleveland Clinic. So they're there both to support our faculty and to do their own research. So this is a growing area in our center as well. Okay, so specifically what we do is develop technologies of different kinds, implanted stimulators, recording devices, laser approaches for optical stimulation, neural interfaces of many kinds. What's shown here is for muscles, for autonomic nervous system, and for the brain. So we either develop that or we obtain it from elsewhere, and we put them together into systems. And this is maybe one of our big areas of expertise. So we put electrodes together with stimulators and recording devices to do many different things. So I show only a few of them here. So down at the bottom left is a hand grasp system, which got the FES Center its start a number of years ago. That can be extended to, postural control and arm movement and many, standing and walking. Up in the upper left is a brain interface that then is used to control stimulation to the muscles of the arm. So the person thinks about a movement, and we can make it happen to some extent. We have respiratory pacing systems, diaphragm pacing, and cough for people with spinal cord injuries. We have various kinds of spinal cord stimulation for pain. And at the top right there is another hand grasp system. And as I said before, one of the really big things we do, we develop and obtain technology, we make systems, but we actually test them in people on a routine, regular basis. It's really the goal of most programs is to get to that point. So there are many different applications shown here, and those are only a handful of the examples that I could show today. Okay, so the FES Center research, we're highly multidisciplinary. We do a lot of numerous first-in-human feasibility trials. We do neural interface and device development. We do a lot of modeling and simulation, nerve modeling, neural circuit modeling, neuromuscular modeling. We know how to interact with the intact nervous system, for example, to find signals that we can use to control stimulation in a very natural way. And we almost always combine neurostimulation with other kind of treatment modalities. Could be for spasticity or, L-DOPA still being used in deep brain stimulation, etc. Okay, so that's the sort of the overview of what we do in a research way, sort of a high-level overview. Now I'll talk about what we do as supporting that activity. How does the center support this activity of the investigators? Well, there's a whole table here, which you can look at your leisure, but we provide administrative support really especially for VA-funded things. We help design technology. We have facilities at the VA. We work very hard to build research capacity. So we train a lot of people, PhD students, postdocs, et cetera, that can add depth to the field. We provide regulatory and clinical trial support through partners. So if you want to have an IDE or an IND or something like that, we can make arrangements to help you get that started. As I said before, we have a bioethics core, which is becoming increasingly important, especially with neural-related research. I'll just skip. We have statistical support for people that want statistical support for their grant submissions or a paper. And we have 2 medical illustrators. I saw them sitting over here. So the old adage, picture's worth 1,000 words is really true. And they're really good at this. They take your ideas and they turn it into a picture that somebody can look at and like, oh yeah, now I get that. Instead of, 2 pages of blah, blah, blah from a scientist. Okay. We put on a monthly seminar series that I think has been top-notch for many, many years. On the left are speakers that we had in the past years. You may recognize some of those speakers. They come from different walks of the rehabilitation world and the scientific world, but All of them were really good. And I should say that Dave Borton up here on the top, on the right-hand side, he's already been here. That was October 16th. He also is fantastic. But we have great people coming the rest of up through January. And you can watch these in person, or you can do it online, like some of you are doing it now. So we have down there is a map that shows where we get people that are logging in and watching our live streams. We also have an internal series, which we call First Tuesdays. Very original. We have it on the first Tuesday of every month, but that's a good name. Nobody can forget when it is. This is internal. So we have people volunteer to come and talk about their latest ideas. Maybe they want some feedback on a paper they're going to submit, or some crazy idea they have that they might need help with. And we do that once a month. We do it we go to the Fairmount in Cleveland Heights, so everybody relaxes, and we talk about possibilities. Okay, so we have people lined up through April, but that doesn't mean that you can't sign up. We have all next year. I think it's valuable. You get a lot of expert feedback from a friendly crowd. Okay. So Chris Polium has put together the last couple years what's called Neurotech Talk. And this year we had Mike Moffat, who's an investigator in the FES Center, and Juan Hincapie, who is at Medtronic and one of my PhD trainees. And they talk about, in these neurotalks, they talk about a similar application, a similar problem, but from an academic perspective and an industrial perspective. And this has turned out, these are great, and they get huge attendance. A lot of students especially come to this, and it's been very well accepted. So thanks, Chris. That's a great job on that. One of the other things our team does is social media. We have YouTube, which gets a lot of traffic. LinkedIn is a very effective professional way to connect with people in the field, and the followers are increasing every year. And still Facebook and Instagram, we still have a lot of followers on there. So please, if you have something you'd like to get out, the team tries to sort out everybody's announcements and accomplishments, but it'd be a lot easier if you just told them. Okay, so we have mechanisms to take care of those things. So let's talk a little bit about accomplishments over the past year. So this is what we call by the numbers, and so we have 77 principal investigators, 6 postdocs, 41 technical and clinical support staff, 52 trainees in various labs, and 5 people in operations. So, like I said before, the operations team manages a crowd. So last year, you generated $29 million in research funding. About half of it at NIH, about 20% from the VA, and from a variety of other sources. But congratulations, everyone. We did in a kind of a uncertain time. We did okay. We had 91 publications and 73 presentations for those of you who actually report what you do, which I think is probably about a tenth, if I had to guess. And we did fantastic on sort of IP-related things. So we had 20 disclosures and 39 patent applications, but we also had 14 awarded patents. These are kind of big numbers. So congratulations again this just is a reflection of our push to get things out into the world. All right, some individual awards. So Hunter, who's sitting there, was given the Alumni Gold Medal Award this year. So that's the highest honor bestowed by the Case Alumni Association. So congratulations, Hunter. Okay, somebody else. I was awarded the Paul Magnuson Award from the Department of Veterans Affairs Rehabilitation Research and Development Service. Well, thank you. Blue Ajiboye, who was awarded given a PCASE award, kind of delayed a little bit, 6-year delay, but finally awarded a PCASE. This was through the Department of Veterans Affairs and awarded by the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. So congratulations. Okay. We had some very notable retirements. So many of you know these three guys. Together, they had about 150 years of experience doing FES-related engineering activities. They're responsible for many of the devices that we still use to this day. We'll see how it goes. They've not been retired that long, so they greatly deserve to retire, but yeah, they'll be missed, there's no doubt. Yeah. And I'm highlighting 3 people that have had implant systems for a long time. You know, we have many people with implanted systems, so this is just a sampling. But Jeanette Green has had a hand system for how long, Hunter?
30 years.
30 years. Yeah, it's still going. How about that? Igor Spedic is, I don't know how long he's been implanted. Emily, do you know? 12 years. And Jennifer French also has a lower extremity FES system. That's probably 20-some years ago, 25 years ago, yeah. So like I said before, we do a lot of research, but without people doing this, I mean, they've gone through surgeries and rehabilitation and putting up with experiments, you know, left and right for many years, and they really are the heroes here. So we should give them a round of all of our participants. Okay, a couple FDA approvals. Jamie Knudsen has been working on contralaterally controlled FES for a number of years, and he's worked with Synapse, and they got their IDE approved or not IDE, PMA? 510K, I'll get there eventually, yeah. For 20 years, they've been working on that, so congratulations, Jamie. And Kevin Kilgore has been working on high-frequency nerve block for a long time as well with his team. And this is an application that Neuros has made in amputee pain relief. It's called Altius. And it also got approval of some kind. Does anybody know the type before I start? PMA. So it has market approval. So this is also another, I mean, these are representative of things, but this is pushing our technology out into the world. So congratulations, Kevin. And we have, like I showed, 50% of our $29 million in funding was from NIH, and these are just a few examples of some bigger awards. Emily Grachik is developing stimulation approaches for sensory restoration. Carl Saab is working on neural decoding and control of pain detection in the somatosensory cortex. Michael Fu is, well, he's giving and taking away. Mapping ethical recommendations for addressing emotional re-traumatization in bionics research. And Dennis Bourbeau, exploratory trial of the Restore. So it's revolutionary electrical stimulation technology to optimize recovery of everyone with SCI system. Wow, that's a mouthful. So congratulations to them and all of you who have contributed to the to our NIH funding. We also have several new merit reviews. So Asif Sheikh has two. He's over here in the corner. He has one on optimizing deep brain stimulation and one on one for optimizing deep brain stim. One's for improving visual motor function. The other one's for visual research strategy. Dennis Bourbeau has one to brain connectivity changes with spinal cord stimulation, treatment of chronic pain, a resting state, and NERS EEG study. And Balu Ajiboye has the development of FES and BMI neural prosthesis for at-home use for persons with tetraplegia. So congratulations, guys. Okay. I get to speculate on one slide, okay? It's been all factual up till now. So I'm going to talk about the federal research funding outlook for us. Well, I'd say it's a little foggy, okay? So we really can't see the details very well off to either side or out in front of us, except for a short distance we can see what's happening. But guess what? There's a little sunshine poking through out there. So maybe, just maybe, things will get resolved soon and we'll be back to some semblance of normal. But until then, stay on the road. All right? Let's just keep moving. All right, so I investigated a few things. So the government shutdown, what's the impact? So the VA, Office of Research Development, is operating off of prior year's funding, fiscal year 25. And at least for now, that'll last through the end of this month. After that, no money. Existing grants from NIH that are using currently obligated funds, you can keep using those. Probably not once your grant year ends. There's no new awards happening. There's no new review panels. And if you go to, especially to NIH, the grant managers are furloughed. I mean, you're not going to get too much information from them. So, like I said, keep moving forward with what you have, and we'll see what happens. So let's say the shutdown ends. Well, it will end eventually, I guess. So if the CR is a continuing resolution, if it's a continuing resolution, the VA funding, I know, will be prorated to the FY25 funding for however long the continuing resolution is in effect. And presumably NIH will do something similar. If they do pass a new budget for fiscal year 26, it'll be whatever is passed. Okay? Don't know about indirect cost rates, what'll happen with them going down the road, and administrative delays, which plagued all of us in the past year or so. Seem to improve towards the end of the fiscal year. We'll see. So that's clear as mud, I'm sure, but this is the world we live in right now. Okay. So this is my summary slide for where we stand in the FES Center right now. I presented all these things already. We have a big set of investigators. We have great staff. We have a fantastic consortium of institutional partners. We do a lot of different research on neural stimulation, neural recording, and we do a lot of first-in-human work. It's one of our hallmarks. Okay, so that's my summary of where we stand right now. So let's talk about the future of the FES Center for a while here. It's time to write another proposal. So we have, the RFA is out for the renewal of the FES Center, and this is to renew our funding starting in 2027. So our current funding lasts until, I guess, October 1st, 2027. It's a 2-year process to get your center refunded. So right now we're in the proposal stage. Okay, you'll hear a lot more about that in a second. Here's the timing. We have to submit. I already told them we intend to apply, so that was an email. That was easy. By February 2nd, we have to submit a pre-application. June 10th, the full proposal is due. So we have about 7 months. Though it'll go to different kind of review within the VA. If it's selected to intent to award, there'll be a site visit, and then the final intent to award will be done by April 27, and it'll start in October 27. So we're working quite hard on that right now, getting it sort of organized a little bit. You'll hear a lot more about this in a minute. So how we plan to do this. So first of all, there'll be 3 multiple PIs. Blue at GBOE over there is going to be a contact MPI for RRDT at the VA and a co-director. Asif Sheikh will be an MPI and be a co-director. So those 2 are going to be the co-directors of the center. I'm going to be an MPI and focus on institutional interactions and on neurotechnology. Those are going to be my focus areas going forward. We have to assemble a proposal, and it's a great time to do sort of thinking. We've been sort of doing strategic discussions for a while now, and so Balu and Asif will be putting together riders for each of the thrusts. So the thrusts are going to be similar, tweaked a little bit, and they'll talk about it in a second, but still be movement restoration, brain health, pain mitigation. Autonomic is going to become autonomic and cardiovascular control, and translation and clinical dissemination will remain. So this is about, if I recall correctly, about 10 pages out of a 25-page proposal. The rest of it is about our environment, leadership, other aspects of the center, with the services we provide, et cetera. And all those sections are going to be done by Balu and Asif and Cheryl. Okay. I put in a blank space here because I'm going to turn the presentation over to Asif and Balu to talk about specifics about the next proposal.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Bob. And it's a big responsibility. And looking forward to working with you all, Lou and I and Bob and Cheryl, and we will hopefully make it again for another 4 years. So as Bob alluded, we will have basic common structure that has been ongoing with the center, with some new addition and some new approach in addition to the ones that we already have. So our application. So as you heard, there are lots of applications and they are all mentioned in black. What you see in red are 2 new applications that we would really like to introduce. One is about the mental health. Neuromodulation for depression, neuromodulation for bipolar disorders, executive behavior, cognition. These are the things which are very common, especially amongst our military veterans and elderly population. So that is something that we want to address with neuromodulation. Unique ways of treating them, unique ways of understanding them, unique ways of measuring brain activity in these conditions. And we will be reaching out to corresponding parties in the psychiatry department, psychology department, neurology, neurosurgery department, neurosciences for that. The other big thing, Cleveland case, UH, Metro, Cleveland Clinic, we are good at doing is cardiovascular, and we had rather small portion of cardiovascular. We did have some investigator interested in neuromodulation for hypertension, for example, which was ongoing. But we want to expand it further for more cardiovascular control with neuromodulation. So that would be another addition to that. And we will have the same thrust areas, as you can see, but brain health, mental health will be integrated into brain health. So it will be brain and mental health. Pain mitigation will stay as pain mitigation. Of course, we have some exciting additional collaborators for pain mitigation. We will be adding them, but overall thrust would remain the same. Movement restoration would remain pretty much very similar, and of course with some new exciting developments that you will hear from Bulu, and autonomic and cardiovascular control, as we said, right? Now, all these cores, each of these 4 cores are then supported by all these 4 thrust areas are supported by 2 main cores, right? Bioethics and translation and clinical dissemination. We are doing great in bioethics. We will keep that similar way. So for each 4 of these thrust areas, we will have bioethics, which is relevant to that. And for each of these 4 thrust areas, we will have translation and clinical dissemination, which will also be aspect of all these 4. What you see here, which is existing right now, is more in this greenish blue color, right? So translation and clinical dissemination, currently we have we have VA teams. What VA teams does is basically convert laboratory discoveries and product into technological translation of those discovery, and that's the key theme of the VA teams, and that is something that we are very proud of, and we will continue to partner with VA teams. But something that has become very important in these days, especially after pandemic, is remote and at-home therapies. If you look at our veterans, for example, they are all over Ohio, all over the place. If you look at our non-veteran patients, they are, at university hospitals where I see patients, we get patients from 100-mile, 150-mile radius, from West Virginia, from borders of Ohio, like from everywhere. They are not all going to be able to come to your lab to get the studies done. What you do in your lab is not really that easily translatable or transferable to someone who lives 100 miles, 200 miles away from here. So how would we do that? We go there. Right? So in VA system, we are very fortunate to have what we call VA Center for Excellence. These are clinical center for excellence. In Cleveland, VA, we are lucky to have one for the headache and pain, polytrauma. We also have multiple sclerosis center for excellence at Cleveland, VA. And we also have Parkinson and movement disorder. It's not Center for Excellence, but it's called Parkinson and Movement Disorder Consortium site, which is similar, like we get patients from entire Vision 10, and we are the only in Vision 10. And we also have spinal cord unit, which is also get patients from regional. And VA has 17, they call CBOCs, which is community-based outpatient clinic, and they are spread all around in Ohio. So we will leverage the presence of CBOCs and COEs within the neurosciences to reach to patients who do not have otherwise access to our discoveries. So these centers are meant right now only for clinical, but we are looking forward to partnering them to spread research. That is one big thing. Our VA is very fortunate to have GREC, which is Geriatric Research and Education Center. So if you look at FES, if you think of FES, it is either neural injury, like traumatic brain injury or spinal cord injury, or it is diseases of aging brain, right? One or the other. So GREC is very, like geriatrics is very important part of it. And we are fortunate to partner with our colleagues from GREC. And we are looking forward to expanding our research and educational opportunities more into geriatric focus. And that would be an exciting way of working with another center for excellence within the VA system. And with this is just regional, but it will then open up an area to grow more nationwide, because Center for Excellence would have their own network within the country. GRACs will have their own network within the country, and it will allow us to expand our network. So this is the vision. So that's about the outreach, and that outreach would then make at-home and remote interventions successful, because that's the whole idea of doing remote at one of these centers, one of these CBOCs, and extend eventually to at home. And this is what Bulu's vision, and I'll let Bulu talk about it.
Sure. So as Bob mentioned, as Asif alluded to, one of the things that we're going to end up doing in preparation for writing the proposal is doing listening tours. So we're going to be talking to PIs and asking the questions, what are the barriers to taking the work that you're doing now in the lab and either translating it to either an at-home study or getting it ready for clinical trial? One of the things we want to do is, as a center, be able to provide resources to lower those barriers of entry into either at-home studies or clinical trials. So I just wanted to highlight, we do have a long history in the center of translating our work, and I just wanted to highlight some of the ongoing studies. This is not exhaustive. This is, again, the 10% who responded to my email of ongoing work in the center. So, Jamie Knudsen doing research on contralaterally controlled FES for upper extremity recovery following stroke. Chris Kowalski's multi-center clinical trial for spinal cord stem to restore cough. Nathan Mikowski's customizable cooperative multi-joint control to enhance walking mobility after stroke. Some of these funded by the VA, some of these funded by the NIH. But again, our goal is to increase the number of clinical trials and also increase the number of veterans who are enrolled in clinical trials for enhancing quality of life. So in addition to clinical trials, we also have studies which are based outside of the laboratory, and these are what we call at-home studies or remote studies that Asif mentioned before. And again, not an exhaustive list. Dennis Bourbeau's electrical rectal stimulation, remote bowel emptying after SCI. My study with other collaborators, development of FES BMI neuroprostheses for at-home use, and Asif Sheikh's studies about remote dynamic cycling for customized offsite rehab in Parkinson's disease. The VA has I don't want to say renewed because it's always been there, but has established strategic priorities. And this was mentioned to us by Dr. Grant Huang over the summer. The VA has established strategic priorities of increasing veterans' access to high-quality clinical trials, increasing the substantial real-world impact of the VA research. Again, this is towards the idea of moving research outside of the laboratory and into to be able to answer questions about what happens when people are using our technology and our interventions at home, and then putting VA data to work for veterans. So in our listening tours, as we contact you, please respond. Please think about what it would take to take your research, your technology, your intervention beyond what you're doing now inside the laboratory, and how can the center help you prepare it either for a clinical trial or at-home study. So that's going to be one major push for each of the thrusts that was on the screen previously. Another thing we're going to be focusing on is capacity building. So the FES Center, one of the things that I remember about Hunter, Dr. Hunter Peckham, who's in the audience, he's always had his 7 Ps. And the P that's been most important has been the people, right? And so the people and training of new people, training of new science has always been critically important to the existence of the center. And so I think we've had about 25 or so funded years, if you count, every individual year and every individual CDA, 25 or so funded years of CDAs, which then leads to establishing investigators in the VA and preparing them to submit merit reviews and have independent funding. And one of the things that we want to do is build is basically enhance our support for early career investigators. We want to attract more people to the VA, more people to Cleveland VA specifically, through the CDA program. So, we have a whole cohort of individuals who are getting their PhDs, but we also want to attract people from outside of Cleveland to take part of the CDA program. We want to build a CDA-focused structured mentorship ecosystem. We want to create an application pipeline for CDAs, so being able to leverage successful CDAs and some of the, I guess, material that's been developed previously. We want to start developing we want to support professional development opportunities, and support can mean a number of things. Of course, create a community, but potentially even have seed funding for new ideas. All towards, again, building or supporting new investigators. Things like community building, networking, resource sharing, and ultimately these will go towards increasing awareness and recruitment of new investigators into the VA. So in particular, those of you who are getting your PhDs, finishing your PhDs, thinking about what's next for a postdoc. We want to create an environment here where that'll be attractive for you to consider being in the VA and taking advantage of the CDA 1 and CDA 2 programs. So with that, I think we'll turn it over to Dr. Kirsch.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, really. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? You guys should help these guys out. I have been, I hope, and I intend to keep doing it. Okay, so I just have one slide. Got a few things on it though. So the state of the FES Center is strong. We had a great year last year. We have a great sort of direction, future going forward. Now there's some uncertainty. I'm not going to say otherwise, but hopefully that'll get resolved. We have 35 years. We have a 35-year legacy of really strong, excellent work. We have 5 years to think about what are we going to do, and I think that sounded pretty good. Okay. We have high productivity. We have strong institutional support. We're expanding our translational ecosystem in Cleveland. We're expanding uses of neurostimulation. So the future's what we want it to be. We make it, okay? So right now, keep writing papers, keep writing proposals. Hopefully they'll get reviewed soon. Take advantage. We have, you've heard through this whole talk, we have unique collaborative opportunities, and we have a lot of clinical connections, a lot. Okay, half of our investigators are physicians. We want to help you work to move your discoveries into products and clinical adoption. That's going to be a strong thrust for the renewal, it sounds like. Take advantage of the resources and the services that the center provide. We have a number of them, and they're there for you. So if you see you have a need for them, please just contact Cheryl or one of her staff members or me. Most importantly, participate in the process we're going to have going on through June, which is writing the proposal, which includes a lot of strategic planning. I mean, really, the future of the FES Center should reflect what all of you folks think need to be done in your area of expertise. And tell us what you need. Okay, we can help. But if you don't tell us what we need, we can't help you. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.